Welcome to the Novel Universe with Ashley and Dawn, book club buddies who love to read YA fiction. We'll discuss the good, the bad, the ugly, and oh my gosh, we need to talk about this right now. I'm Ashley, the fantasy architect.
And I'm Dawn, the criticizer of books.
So grab something sweet or salty and join our universe.
Novel Universe with your hostesses, Ashley and Dawn. And it is still July, and it is still Romance Month, largely because there's no new books coming out in the summer, so we had to do something. So we called July Romance Month, and we've been reading some erotica, and this time we're going to read just straight romance. And so we read The Bromance Book Club by Lyssa K. Adams. And like always, we'll do our spoiler-free edition, and then I will let you know when we go into the spoiler edition, and so you don't have to worry about spoilers or anything. All right, you ready, Ashley?
I am ready. Okay, so the first rule of book club, you don't talk about book club.
Oh
National legend, second baseman Gavin Scott's marriage is in major league trouble. He's recently discovered a humiliating secret. His wife, Thea, has always faked the big O. When he loses his cool at the revelation, it's the final straw on their already strained relationship. Thea asks for a divorce, and Gavin realizes he's let his pride and fear get the better of him. Welcome to the Bromance Book Club. Distraught and desperate, Gavin finds help from an unlikely source, a secret romance book club made up of Nashville's top alpha men. With the help of their current read, a steamy Regency titled Courting the Countess, the guys coach Gavin on saving his marriage, but it'll take a lot more than flowery words and grand gestures for this hapless Romeo to find his inner hero and win back the trust of his wife.
Okay. I never read summaries, so when you read them the first time on the podcast, I'm like, oh man.
You always
I'm rolling my eyes. I know.
You're like, oh Lord, here we go. Which is the exact opposite of me, because I always read them before I read the book.
Yeah, I never do.
And I feel like anytime I read it, you're always like, oh crap, here we go again. I think it just reminds you of all the things that you had wrong with what you were reading.
Uh-huh.
So, all right. What'd you rate it?
So, I gave it a 4. I know you're shocked. As I'm reading it and I'm liking it, I'm like, Ashley is going to be shocked that I actually like this book.
What? Did I pick a good one? I picked
You picked a good book.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I'm sweating. I'm so happy about this.
I know. I was shocked too. Believe me, I was shocked.
I was telling my husband, Dawn is going to tear this book apart. Just you wait, because I was telling him the whole synopsis and as to what was happening in the book and all the things, and he was like, that sounds like a great book. I was like, I know. I said, but just wait, Dawn's gonna hate it. You just wait for it. No, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So I also gave it a 4. I didn't give it a 5. I mean, for critical reasons, I did not give it a 5. If you're going to judge a book critically, there's, certain areas things need to hit. But
yeah,
it was a good book. I enjoyed every minute of it. I was like, okay. That's why, I finished it in 5 hours, because I couldn't put it down because I was enjoying it so much.
Yeah.
And that
I was howling.
You were what?
I was howling through the whole book. It was really funny. I was shocked at how funny it was.
The writing was so funny. So good. Because it's told through Gavin's perspective for the majority of the book. And then you have some of Thea, his wife, speaking. But I really enjoyed the whole, bro camaraderie and, what happens behind closed doors and how they're, the certain stereotypes that we have for men and how they communicate with their women is what this woman writes in this book. And it's like, oh, if you read a book that's written by a female, you will learn how the female wants their males to respond to you. Like, so they have that big dawning moment, and I was like, that's genius. That is genius that they started a bromance book club to figure out how to communicate with their wives or their girlfriends accordingly. Like how they, so that way they're not, questioning, am I doing this right? Did I say the right thing? Like, I don't know. It was a different take on something that we haven't read. Like, I've never read anything like this. And so that made it exciting for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I had a few dislikes.
I do too.
If you want to critically pull something apart, but I think for me the one thing I had an issue with is that I had a hard time reading Thea's POV because I had issues with Thea, because Thea is a damaged character, right? She's coming from bad home relationships, and then there are certain things that are like flowing into her marriage, and she's connecting them negatively, which therefore is causing her to negatively explode on Gavin, saying like, I don't want to be with you anymore, right? And so she's got all of these issues that lead up to her making some pretty rash decisions. I think it's because I enjoyed Gavin more, reading his side, I think, than hers. So that might be why. Okay.
Well, I was the exact opposite. I did not like Gavin, and I liked Thea. Yeah, I thought Gavin was a dummy. I'm like, and just not like in like romance, but just like he just didn't seem to get it. And I'm like, dude, it's really not that difficult what your friends are trying to tell you. Why do they have to literally spell it out for you? It got really annoying. And then like his whole revelation of his issue came in the last act of the book, whereas Thea's was kind of spread out throughout. And his was at the very end. And I'm like, I kind of didn't like that either. It's not his fault. That's the author's fault. But I don't know. I just didn't really like Gavin. I liked Mac a lot better than Gavin. At first I didn't, but then as the Mac character grew, I started to like him a lot more. But I liked Thea a lot because I thought that she was, especially comparing her to Eva from Bear to You, like I thought her whole background, I thought the author did a really good job of like explaining where, her childhood and why she behaves the way she does. And it wasn't like in your face. She wasn't shoving it down your throat. It was a lot of little bitty moments that I thought was very effective. And so I thought that because of that, the Thea character was done well.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I think the main reason why I didn't like her is because I felt that she blamed Gavin for everything. Not to say that Gavin is the sharpest tool in the box. He is your average, like, guy that has just one focus, and so his main focus is on baseball. He's not focusing on all these other things, and he has to literally learn how to do that. It's kind of like when you're training a dog to sit down. He had to learn like, oh, I need to sit down because like this is important for me to sit down. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was because of Thea's sister, Liv. I didn't like their communication at some times because Liv was very whiny and complaining and just kind of like a seesaw effect. All of a sudden she was on one side and then she wasn't. And that might have been where that came from, where I just like that.
Yeah, I see that.
Like,
I know this is going to sound a little harsh, but I felt like the writing was a little trite. Especially the conversations. Considering that this is talking about marriage and how a marriage is ending, I didn't feel like the conversations were very deep or inspirational. It was kind of, especially the men, and I don't know if it's just because it's men learning about how to communicate with women, and we're women and we already know this stuff. I don't know if it was because of that or what, but I just felt like the conversations they were having were kind of surface level. They weren't really digging in to much, especially Thea, which I really think that her and Liv really could have gotten into their issues with their family life, and they didn't get into it enough for me. So yeah, I mean, there were times when the writing was really funny, and I thought it was a pretty good rom-com. There were certain scenes that were really funny, but as far as like the deep conversations, I didn't think the writing was very strong.
Yeah, which I think that was one of my other biggest like no-nos with the book, that, you know, like the writing wasn't strong enough for me to give it a 5 because there were certain things that could have gone deeper. However, it's like night and day compared to us reading Baird to You, and like, you know, all of a sudden they're having these issues and you're like, where did they come from? You know, I think that Adams did enough to kind of give us a glimpse as to what the issue is actually, going on in the book. But I didn't like the fact that we received Gavin's revelation as to what he had to change about himself until like way at the end.
Yeah.
You know, like that was kind of like, okay, how come we're not discussing this like as he's in like book club? Like that's what they're supposed to kind of just be open and honest with each other. You know, when you and I have book club with our friends, like you get really, really deep and into stuff there. And I feel like they went really deep into just the book, and there wasn't a deepness within like Gavin's own personal struggles where he, you know, is drawing all his information from. So,
yeah, that's a really good point. I think like through most of the book, and this is in the summary. So she was faking it in bed, and he was too embarrassed to tell his friends that, which I understand that. But at the same time, you know, this is a book club, like you said, and this is the time for them to share. And they didn't really share, and maybe it's going to come later in the books, and you know, maybe we're women and we're just like, oh, just share, it's easy. But for men, it's harder, and we can't just expect them to just be like all of a sudden start sharing. And he was new to the group, and the other guys have been there longer, so maybe it's that. But that, like you said, that would have been a great opportunity to have these really deep conversations. And once again, she's a woman. Maybe she doesn't know how to write men talking to each other. That also could be a limitation on her part. But still, that was still an opportunity for her to really dig deep into conversations, and she didn't really take it in their book club, which was missed. It was a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Which kind of sucked, because I was like waiting for that moment when he was going to like talk to Del and Mac, like, hey, like, this is like really weighing on my pride and I don't know how to handle it. Like, I want my wife back, you know, but this particular issue is having all of these other, you know, cascading of problems coming in, because he's having to figure all that out. That was my other biggest pet peeve, is that this book parallels with the book that they're reading in the Bromance book club. And I thought that some of the chapters that they had of Courting the Darkness, which is the book that they're critiquing for their book club, I thought that they were unnecessary at moments. Like, I think I would have preferred more of like little small passages from the book versus us having like a full chapter multiple times. Because I was like, oh, I don't really care about like the Duke and the Countess. Like, I really want to focus on like Thea and Gavin. Like, I understand where he's drawing his his thoughts from, his ideas from. Like, oh, maybe I should try this method. which he does, but I think that was unnecessary there, and maybe that's where she could have put Gavin's slow, steady, like, revelation about, like, what he needs to work on with himself. Because I felt it was very one-sided for Thea. Like, that Thea had all of these issues, and Gavin's were not discovered until late, and I feel like there was a little bit more going on there versus just, what was started. So.
Yeah. I agree. I put that the whole courting the countess or whatever it's called, I liked the idea behind it. I liked reading what they were reading and kind of seeing where his head is at the moment, depending on where he was in the book. But I didn't like the story. Mm-hmm. It was like you said, I don't care about the countess. That story, it read like that book, that first romance book we read, just bad. I'm like, oh no, I don't like this. So it really brought the book down a lot for me. At least I knew what ton was this time.
I know. I knew what it was because we were just in this era. It was awesome. I was like, that's the town. The ton is the town. But I wouldn't have known what that word was. I would have had to look it up. Like, if we were reading this for the first time, I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. I was too lazy to look it up the first time, so.
Oh, man. And do you have any more on your list for dislikes?
There was a scene in the book that I thought I didn't quite understand the whole point of it, and it was the whole naked part where she's just like, oh, you're going to be naked in front of me, I'm going to be naked in front of you, and it was right at the beginning of their issues, and I'm like, what was the point of that? Was it supposed to be cheeky and cute? It seemed to be like a light moment, but it wasn't a good place for it. Maybe towards the end, I didn't like that scene at all. That whole thing could have just been taken out.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because it like they both have set, their boundaries for trying to make things work, right? They have this limited amount of time that, Gavin has to, like, regain her trust, and if he doesn't, he has to leave officially. And the whole time his bros are telling him, like, hey, dude, like, you can't kiss her, you shouldn't have sex with her, like, all these things. You need to learn how to re-court your wife to regain her trust and to continue to court her even though you've gained her trust, like, throughout this whole process, right? And so with them being naked together, I was like, I feel like we're riding the fence here where this could get very sticky very quickly,
Yeah.
And I didn't think that it did anything for the characters other than confuse and sexually frustrate them both. Because now to me, it was like a battle of the wills, which I thought was kind of cute for a little bit because, like, my husband and I do, like, battle of the wills, like, similar things like that. And it's like, I can understand the scene itself, but with the premise of the book and where they were at, I don't think that was a healthy choice.
No, it almost seemed like it would have been good if they were, like you said, you and your husband have these battle of the wills where it's like, well, who can hold out more, and then I'm going to entice you. But that's in a healthy relationship where you're having fun, and this was not. So it just was out of place, and it totally took you out of the story. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah. And I think that the last part, like, I had, like, one more small little dislike. And that's just, the book is definitely cheesy. It is a cheese ball book, but it's a good cheese. I like a good cheese. And I like cheese that I haven't read before, not something that I could literally be like, oh, well, then he's going to do this, and then she's going to do that, and then the story's going to end, and they're all going to have it ever after. There you go. Like, I don't want to know the whole drawn out map of the story before I read it type of cheese. I want to know that the characters are going to end up together. It's the journey that I look forward to. So
yeah.
It is cheesy, but it's not like, it's not a super deter, because, like, I thought for you weren't going to like it because you're going to be like, this is hella cheese, Ashley.
I like rom-coms. I love rom-coms. So this was fine. I have no problem with cheese in rom-coms. So this was fine.
But well done cheese.
Yeah, it was well done cheese.
Well done cheese. Yeah. So I think that's
I only had a couple of nitpicks.
okay.
Just one nitpick was the author assumes that all women read romance novels. At some point, the guys are like, "Oh, yeah, all women read romance novels," and I'm like, no, they don't.
Your wife.
I didn't like that.
Tablet. I'm like, what? How do you know that your wife has a book like that on her tablet? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, not all women don't read romance novels. And it seemed like the author was trying to be funny at some points and it just didn't land. Like, so he kept giving the Duke of the story, Gavin kept giving the Duke like Lord Hot Pants and like these names. And I'm like, it's so stupid. Please stop that. And then like there was little bitty stuff like the little girls, they ate too much at Thanksgiving and he was calling it puke apocalypse. I'm like, that's really dumb. But there were some like moments, like I said, where I was howling. Like I haven't laughed this hard in a book in a really long time. But then there was these little stupid moments and I'm like, girl, you need to get your humor together because
this is dry.
Yeah. It was really bad. It's like she was trying too hard to be funny. So, yeah, but that's a nitpick. It didn't make or break the book, but it was a nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all my dislikes.
Okay. So for the things that I really loved about this book, so this is a great book to go away for the weekend or a great Friday night read, depending upon how quickly one reads a book. If you want, in my opinion, a good solid book that's going to make you feel good, and give you a nice, good belly laugh, like this is definitely a book that I would recommend to someone who needs a nice, quick read.
Yeah.
And it's
I feel like this
book, by the way. It's not a YA book. It's not a YA romance.
Yeah, it's adult.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you like those Hallmark movies, which I personally don't, but if that's your jam, if that's your speed, then this is perfect. This is like a Hallmark movie in a book for you.
Yep.
I could see this being one of their books, one of their movies.
Might be
if they ever adapt.
Because they have to.
Well, yeah. I forgot about that. But they'll just take that out.
The Hallmark book, okay?
Yeah. They'll take the sexy stuff out.
That's the best part.
Speaking of, so we have been reading, did we only read one erotica? We only read one, right? Or did we read two? I'm so confused. We read two?
That first one. Whew.
Was that the historical fiction one?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Did you call it Breaking Dawn?
Lord, no.
That's Twilight.
It's because we're just talking about Twilight now.
I know.
Oh, goodness.
Wicked Dawn.
Wicked Dawn.
Wicked Dawn. Yeah. Yeah, so we read two. And I have to say that, like I said, I don't like romance. And I don't read erotica, but we've been, trying to do new genres. But I will say I did prefer this better of having a romance book and then having some sexy times in it. Mm-hmm. I like that way better than just straight erotica. So maybe if I'm looking for something like that, then I need to go this route and not do straight erotica.
Well, yeah, and I think because there's so many books out there that the romance novels are not, they're not what you were hoping for. Like, they don't make that last final step, and I think that that's what I miss from a romance novel. So it's like when we ventured into the erotica realm, it was like, okay, that's like too much in my face. Like, I don't want to read that every 4 pages. But it's like, I want them to get together in this book. Like, I want to read about that. You know, if you want to compare it to a YA novel, it's like with Belle and Edward, when they finally get married, you're like, yes, I want to read about this because I've been fighting for these characters for so long to get together. And I thought that she did a good job about that because I didn't hate it. Like, I was so excited for them. And
yeah.
Way, but I was I was excited for these characters.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I like that. So I like how she has a series set up where we are following Gavin and Thea in this book, and their story is wrapped up. And in the next book, it's two different couples. And in the next book, it's two different couples. So each story is wrapped up, and there's no cliffhanger. I really do like that format. So because of that, I already started book 2. Because
you to read.
I started because I like Mac. Liv, whatever, but I like Mac, so I kind of wanted to read his story, and also it was an audiobook, and I did something to listen to at work, so I'm like halfway through it now. But yeah, so I
have to get it this weekend.
Yeah,
I'll just read through it real fast before we get to Midnight Sun.
Okay.
So I think
I did like that.
Higher rating than this one, but you never.
Yeah, I'm liking this first book better than the second one. I actually I'm indifferent about Liv, and we'll talk more about Liv in the spoiler edition, but I'm indifferent about her. However, I do not like her in book 2. Like, it's too much of her. In this book, it was just enough of her attitude, but in the second book, it's all about her and her attitude, and I'm just like, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't like it. So Gavin or Mac is fine. I like Mac a lot. He's great in the second book too. But it's just this Liv is yikes. She's bringing it down a little bit.
I'm so sorry for your loss. That doesn't give me much hope though, because I was super excited to read it. Maybe it'll get better though, because you're halfway. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, because I think we summed up a lot of like our loves. I liked the idea of the fact that I have never read a book like this before. I liked the whole idea of the secret bromance book club, and how, like, you don't tell your wife that you're reading the books. Like, you're just going to swoon her and court her and all this other stuff. Like, this is our secret. Like, we're these big league guys that don't need people knowing that we're reading romance novels to help us in our marriages, because we can't, do it without their help. But I really liked the fact that his teammates came around him in his time of need. Like, they didn't just let him flounder, which I feel like could happen in the real world. Like, that's a thing that happens because, like, for men, they're, from what I know, and I don't know a whole lot, but their failures are not something that they want to be broadcasted. So they deal with them internally and by themselves, unless they have a friend who they are able to truly be open and honest with them, and it's being done back to them. So they're able to have this open and honest relationship with each other, where they can be totally open and be like, dude, this is what's going on,
Yeah.
So I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't really say too much without, it's not like this book has huge spoilers, but we don't want to ruin your
moments.
Yeah.
Those
the
good
stuff
moments
that you can just, yeah. So we're really not going to get into it. Just very vaguely, I liked how the author gave reasons for Thea's behavior and Liv's behavior. I thought that was done well. Like you said, it's called Bromance Book Club, and I did like the friendship between the guys. And they even like ribbed each other a lot, but it was fine. It was good ribbing. The ending was good. It was a good rom-com ending. If you like rom-coms, it's a good rom-com ending.
And it ended, okay?
And it ended.
It ended.
Yes. All right. I don't have anything else to say spoiler free. Nope. All right. Well, if you are leaving us for the spoiler edition, you don't want to stay for that. The next book we are reading is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer, and this is going to be our first read along with the universe with Ashley. Read along with the universe basically means that we're going to break up the book in chunks, and then we'll discuss it in chunks, and you can read along with us. So August 9th, we are going to be reading the first 200 pages-ish. We don't have the book in front of us, so we don't know the chapter ending. So whatever chapter ends around page 200 is where we're going to stop. So if you want to read along with us, read up to page 200 or more, and then tune in on the 9th or the 10th. Is usually when I upload on Monday, and read along with us. All right. Are we ready for the spoiler edition?
I'm ready.
All right. So we're starting the spoiler edition of Bromance Book Club by Lyssa K. Adams in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
All right, I got my first thing to say.
Okay.
Okay, I am sorry, but how do you go 3 years faking it? Faking the big O. Like, I don't understand how that was never brought up in their communication. I think that maybe it's because their communication was broken because they were rushed into their whole entire marriage together. You know, they had like their like shotgun wedding and all this other stuff, and then he's off all the time doing baseball stuff. So maybe it's because they never really had that time to have that communication. But I mean, that's just not fair. That's not fair.
Yeah, that's what I got. I think when he was there, he wasn't really there. Mm-hmm. And I think that Thea doesn't know how to communicate with men because she hasn't learned how to through her father. They're young women. I think they're like 26 or so, 27. Mm-hmm. So when she got married, she might have been 23. So, you know, I just don't think she knows how. No one taught her how. She didn't have a mom. She had a mom, but her mom was absent, basically. She wasn't involved in her life at all. And she has a younger sister, and that's it. So,
yeah.
But maybe she thought that's what it was supposed to be. Who knows?
No.
Well, I guess we're supposed to know why, because that's the whole point of the book.
Because she had talked about how she would have to finish herself.
True.
Okay, no. She knows what it feels like.
True. That's true.
So, that for me was like, as a married woman, I don't know how you would not talk to your husband about that. You know, like, that's something that's really important unless he was never around long enough to have those conversations. And she was just like, oh, we got to get it in because you're going to leave like the next day type of thing. I don't know. Like,
well, she was even still teaching him where to touch her at one point. And I'm like, I mean, I guess I don't know if it's just our how we stereotype jocks and how they have a lot of ladies and, you know, they're virile or whatever. But if she's still teaching you what to touch, that's not good either, guy. Like,
yeah.
Not that it's his fault. I don't know, but yeah, I'm just trying to.
Dude talks in the locker room. Like, I feel like the locker room talk never happened. Ever. Maybe
that's not what they're talking about.
I don't know. We're not.
I don't mean like that. I mean like specifically, not what they're talking about. It might be just general stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that was my first like reaction to this book was like, how does that happen? I can understand for a period of time, but 3 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Well, what I liked about, because, okay, so I'm not going to lie. The first quarter of the book, I was like, oh my God, this book is terrible. It was probably at about a 3, and it was steadily going down. But then I had to kind of change my thought process of the book. So when you were thinking, how come it's been 3 years that she hasn't had it and she hasn't said anything to him, my whole thought was, you're going to end a 3-year marriage over that. He's not beating you. He's not a drunk. He's not cheating on you. It's just a miscommunication. What is your problem? And then as I kept reading, I was like, okay, well, first of all, just because not all marriages end because of infidelity or abuse. Like, they do end in miscommunication, and those marriages deserve a voice too. It can't all be this huge grand problem. There are other marriages that end, and they should be highlighted too. So it's not fair to be like, this isn't a good enough book because he's not cheating on you. That's not fair. Mm-hmm. And where was I going with that? I was nitpicking about all the little stuff. I think it's because as the book progresses, we do learn a little bit more about Thea and why she behaves the way she does. And I like the whole part about when she was featured in that Southern magazine and they called her wholesomely pastel. And she's like, basically, she's not just faking it in the bedroom. Her whole marriage has been faking it. This is not who she is. She's being one of the wags, and that's not who she is. That's not how she behaves. And so her whole life, she's been faking it her whole life, even from a young child, and trying to build this perfect marriage and perfect mommy and trying to help raise her sister. And she's been faking it her whole life. And she's not going to school when she really wants to. She's not doing her art career. So I thought after all of that came out, then I was like, oh, okay. I get it now, and I liked how the author kind of weaved in the faking it in the bed with the faking it with your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess I mean, because I was also under that same impression that you just described. I was like, okay, that's the dumbest reason to divorce your husband. I'm sorry. Are you joking? He's a great dad to your girls. He is always home. He's not cheating on you with someone else. Your life could be worse is what I felt. And so then when we found out more as to the fact that she never finished her degree, the fact that, this happened with her family, and that she was this Southern girl that was just thrown into something that she really just did not want to be a part of. She is not like the other women, that's not their goal in life, just to marry a major league baseball player. They just want to continue to have their life for themselves. They're not looking for the support of their man's career to guide them through this life. And I liked that about Thea, that she was a spicy little lady underneath, and she didn't let her true colors show. And it's but that's what he fell in love with to start with, So the fact that she just slowly but surely turned that off, no wonder he was he didn't realize that spunk had died, is because she just decided to fake it until she made it, basically. And I loved the revelations that she had within herself in this story. When they're going over to Del's house for Thanksgiving dinner, and she's like, I am not dressing up. I don't want to. No one said we have to. I don't care anymore. I put on leggings and a sweatshirt. I don't care. I'm going to be comfortable. And I was like, yes, that's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be having this fake lifestyle that you're not even wanting to be a part of. She wasn't choosing to be fake for the sake of being fake. She was doing it so she could hide herself and all her other insecurities, so no one else could actually see what was going on in her heart and in her life. And it's okay, but there are some women out there that are more than okay dressing up to the nines and just talking about baseball and their husband's successes and how good he is versus how good your husband is, or whatever. So I felt like she grew a lot in this book. She did. They grow.
I like that. Speaking about that, so one thing I did like about it is when she went to that Thanksgiving dinner and she was like, I'm going to wear my leggings and my sweatpants, and the other wags were going to be there, in particular the main wag, wives and girlfriends. I like that we didn't have to witness her growth there. At this point in the story, she is over it. She's like, I'm over this marriage. I'm over these women. I'm going to tell them whatever I want to, and I don't care. And she did. And we didn't have to watch her take the abuse from them and feel bad about herself and just that inevitable growth that we all know is going to happen. God was so thankful that right at the beginning of that Thanksgiving dinner, she just like put that woman in her place and she kept doing it. And she was like, I don't care anymore. I mean, that's a small thing, but I did appreciate that.
Well, yeah, because it made you want to read the story more because you're like, I haven't read this before. She's finally taking charge and I'm not having to listen to them berate her like over and over and continue to drag her through the mud even more. I'm like, yeah, girl, but like you said you want to change the way that you're living, do it. Like, and she did. Like, she was like, I'm not going to wear this mask anymore. I don't want to even be a part of this whole WAG system anyway. Like, you guys don't know me. If I can't be myself around you, then I don't want to be a part of it. So, yeah, I loved that she stood up to the main. Oh my gosh, I was dying through that whole entire scene.
Which one?
When she stands up to the main WAG the first time, I was like, oh. Oh, girl's got some thoughts to her. Yeah. And then when she does it again, where she finally like grows enough in her own self-esteem and is like, I'm not taking this anymore because now, you know, the main WAG dissed her husband when her husband was better than the main WAG's husband.
Yeah.
And she was like, you can sit there and drag my name through the mud if you want, but you will not be talking about my husband now. I was like, oh, girl, get it. Yes.
Yeah, that came early in the book, and that was well appreciated.
But see, and I liked the fact that he didn't save her from that. Gavin did not save Thea from Thea learning how to grow in that moment. Like, Gavin wasn't the knight in shining armor that, like, stood in between them. He let her fight her own battles. And I appreciated that, because it's like, read it so many times. The guy comes in, the guy saves the girl, you know, he always stands up for her and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, how come these girls don't have backbones? Like, I don't understand that. Like,
yeah.
You know, and so I
agree
with that. I did. My other thing I want to talk about, the book. Okay, so when Gavin gets brought into the group, okay, and they get to their first part of a sensual scene, okay, and the guys rate the books. And they call the scenes in the books their book boner meters. And so when it's a really good scene, they rate it saying, oh, it was a 7 book boner meter or whatever. And I loved that. It was so funny because it was very original. You didn't appreciate that part?
No, but I appreciate that you appreciated it.
I thought it was funny. Oh, because they were dead serious. It wasn't a joke either. They were dead serious. What was another thing? Just
continuing with Thea, because I was reading Goodreads and a lot of people had the same like reaction to Thea. But I mean, I think Adams laid Thea out pretty well. Especially why she wanted to end her marriage. Like you said, why would you end a 3-year marriage when it could be a lot worse? And I think what the author did was kind of especially her childhood, and she watched her father lie to her mother, and she watched what it did to her mother, and how she became depressed and locked her door and shut the girls out, and they had to feed themselves and take care of themselves and everything. And I think she was comparing Gavin to her father, and so instead of going through what her mother did, she was just like, I'm done. I'm just going to leave. I'm done. And that was her way of dealing with it. Mm-hmm. So I think her reaction made sense. It was a little overdramatic, but, it has to kind of be for the sake of the book. But I thought her reactions were valid based on the background we were given about her. She also didn't really have anybody to give her advice either. Like her mother, she doesn't talk to her mother. She doesn't talk to her father. Her sister grew up with her in the same house, so they kind of have the same reaction to stuff. And her sister was giving her awful advice. So and the wags aren't going to help her because she doesn't like them. So she really didn't have anybody she didn't have a bromance book club or a sister book club. She was kind of off on her own, trying to deal with it on her own. And that's the only thing she knew was to just cut him off. So I didn't hate that part. It made sense. Her behavior made sense. And I think Liv's behavior made sense. But like I said, we only got Liv in small doses. So she at one point, Liv says in the book that Thea and Gavin were her OTP. And I think that she was like, yes, there's finally a good man out there. My sister has found him. I'm going to find a man like that. And then when they separated, she just like lost all hope for men, and that was her reaction, was to just, don't hurt my sister. She's not going to end up like my mom. Her daughters are not going to end up like me and Thea. And at one point, it's on page 248, which I thought was a really good line. I think they're at the restaurant with Alexis, and Alexis says, you need permission from your sister to have sex with your husband. And I think at that point, Thea was like, wait a minute, why am I letting my sister tell me how to live my life? So I thought that was a really good line where she kind of like snapped out of it and was like, no, I need to like listen to myself. I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying, the rekindling with my husband, and I'm not going to let Liv derail that because she's jealous or upset or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that their whole system as sisters was very much so the big sister and little sister camaraderie that happens like in a bunch of homes, when there is a crisis within the home and the family dynamic is now shooken up. What happens is the children kind of band together, and they have like this secret code with each other where it's like, okay, we can talk and bash all we want, but you cannot hurt my sister at all, or my brother. Like, that is where I draw the line. If you hurt them in any way, shape, or form that is comparing to how we've been hurt before, you're dead to us, and you're no longer invited in. So her, when Liv freaks out and is like, your guys' relationship has caused me to have hope, and now that it's broken, I don't have that anymore. I think it's a valid statement, and that's what happens because, what she had hoped to someday find might not happen because now she's seen that it can also get broken even in the best circumstances. And so her expectations for a relationship are kind of just like, the bar was way up here and now it's shot back down again. And now she's going to compare their relationship to everything that else has happened in their life. And so when Thea's trying to, have a heart to heart with Liv, like, listen, like, we're working through things, and like we still love each other, and we want to fight for each other. And Liv's like, I'm not having it. Like, I don't think that that's a good idea. So Liv doesn't know how to properly support her sister because she has not seen reconciliation in an appropriate way. So therefore, she doesn't know how to hope for the fact that they could reconcile and change and have something good.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Awesome.
There's one moment at the end, like while we're still kind of talking about the serious stuff in the book before we get into like the lighter stuff. There's one moment in the book, it's at the end, where Thea goes to see her father's new wedding. I think it's his fourth wife. And yeah. And she gets into the car with her father, and they're on the way to the wedding. And she says, she's talking about her father. She says she never crawled into his lap for comfort, never made pancakes with him. He was a stranger, like a distant uncle who saw you every 5 years at the family reunion and whose only point of conversation was to say over and over again how tall you've gotten. I thought that was a really great moment, and it kind of summed up her relationship with her father, even though it came at the very end. It would have been nice if that came a little bit earlier, but I thought that was pretty well put. Just the uncle who just says, wow, how you've grown. That really sums up what a relationship she had with her father. Mm-hmm. I liked how it ended. She didn't forgive him necessarily, but she just kind of let it go. She's like, okay, I need to he is how he is, and I need to just let it go. I need to live my own life. And so I thought the resolution at the end of the book was done well. I also like that at the end, it was Gavin who was doing most of the work, and she wasn't being honest with him at all. And at the end, he was like, look, it's your turn. I've done everything I've done. Mm-hmm. I've done it all, and you're not giving me anything. You're not telling me anything. And he leaves it up to her. So I really did like that he left up to her, and her way of getting over it is to go see her father and talk to her father and she, apologize and everything. So the ending was pretty solid. I really did like the ending.
Well, yeah, because, Thea is able to come to, this big, giant conclusion that, Gavin is not her father, and he will never be her father, and she goes through all those moments where she missed having that father figure in her life, and she's reflecting on the fact that, Gavin does not treat their daughters that way at all, because there's a bunch of little scenes where Gavin is just being what you would describe as a dad who loves his children, who's wanting to do anything for them. And she is having such a power struggle in her mind with, does he really mean that? Is he really there for them? Is he really loving them? And he proves her wrong every single time. He's not doing it to gain anything from the girls other than to be their dad and to allow him let them allow him to love him or to love them. Even when you could tell that with the daughters, I think it was Ava, was it? Yeah. Ava and Amelia. Ava was having a really hard time with Gavin not being there, and she was kind of clinging to Thea more, and Gavin didn't scoff about that. He didn't say oh, it hurts my feelings that she only wants you and all that. He let it go because he's for some reason understood that she will warm up to me when she's ready again. She's comforting mom because Ava is Thea. That's exactly what's happening there. And he sees that dynamic and just takes charge of okay, well, Amelia wants me, so I'm just going to take Amelia. You can take Ava. And that's what you do in a parenting situation. You let the kid lead so they don't feel as though their paths are being chosen for them at every moment of every single time. And so the fact that at the end when Gavin does leave her, I was like, yes. That was the whole line that Adele was telling him, you are going to do what she wants you to do, which she originally wanted him to leave. She wanted Gavin to leave and not come back. So he packs a bag for, his trip and he leaves. But he blatantly says to her, I have worked for you. I have done everything that you've asked of me. There is nothing more I can do at this point because you need to make the choice to step towards me now. I've done all I can to come meet you where you are, and you are not meeting me in the same spot. Mm-hmm. Type of a thing. And that was beautiful because it wasn't, where you're oh, see, he didn't have to leave her. She just decided to love him and it's going to be okay. no, like that was great writing right there. And, and then she has the whole entire revelation about how her dad is the exact opposite of Gavin, but she's saying all of these things in her head. And so she's coming to terms with them. So her stating them is helping her work through those issues. And the fact that she may never love her dad the same way that her girls are going to love Gavin. And she's okay with that. Because she realized that, like, he is in his own life right now. And that sucks that he was not in mine. But I have come to terms that he will probably never be in mine. And to be okay with it.
Yeah.
So, this book got deep in some areas. Like, it
really did.
It's a very light read, but I feel like the actual struggles in their relationship, like, those are real marital struggles that happen a lot and frequently in any sort of marital relationship, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it's like those are issues that, unfortunately, people divorce about. They do. Yeah. So like her, faking the big O, well, that was just her icing on the cake. That wasn't the real issue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's all the heavy stuff I had. Then there was some lighter stuff. So your whole boner meter, you had that moment. My funny chapter was when the guys were meeting at Gavin's house and they had all watched The Little Mermaid and the girls had dressed them up and the Russian blew up the bathroom and Liv goes downstairs. I was laughing so hard. And Liv was just like, oh my God. It's really stupid, but it was funny.
Did you eat the last of my pizza? Oh, it was so funny because when I think about some of my guy friends who have their children, they hang out with my husband, that is not an uncommon thing or theme to happen throughout the evening. You find them in these weird situations that you just kind of just turn your face and just act like you don't see what's happening. Because they're all dressed up. They're all dressed up as mermaids.
Yeah.
Watching The Little Mermaid, some dude blowing up the bathroom. That's normal and that's funny. It wasn't cheesy. Because it's oh yeah, that's the thing that would happen. If we all are out at night and one guy goes in there and it's always someone, and unfortunately they light it up and there's nothing you can do but scoff about it.
Oh, that was my funny chapter.
Yeah.
The sexy times. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the sexy times?
I actually liked them. I really did. I liked the fact that, so Gavin had, Thea had her terms as to how Gavin was going to be able to commingle in their home even while they're on this trial basis. And the fact that Gavin responds to her and, no, honey, I don't like that. You're going to kiss me every night. And we're going to sit down and read this book together that we started when we were dating before the girls came along to help us grow closer together. And she fights him at every single turn. And it turns out that those moments where they are forced into that situation, it's like the girls are down. We're going to read our next chapter in our book here. Those were the moments where I think Thea was actually experiencing like her husband actually wanting to work on this relationship. And so when the sexy times happen and he kisses her for the first time really good and then he walks away, I was like, oh heck no. Oh my goodness, but it's I liked the fact that it wasn't just jump your guns type of a thing. Mm-hmm. And that they didn't go all the way that one time while they're out on the porch reading or whatever. Like, they kind of got a hold of themselves and were like, oh, wait, no, we're not supposed to be doing this right now. Maybe it's too soon. Maybe we don't know what we really want, and we're just letting our emotions get the better of us.
Yeah.
So, I didn't feel that it was degrading towards women. I will say that. Because I know that some erotica that we have read is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. How did you let that happen? I don't know if I can do that. You know?
How did you let that happen? There were a couple of funny, only because of past books.
Yeah.
The curls made a comeback.
I know.
Was like
Just one time.
What? One was enough.
Them dang curls are coming back.
And Cleft came back one time.
One time.
Uh-huh. And then there was a nub thrown in there. I was like, what the heck is that?
What's a nub? If you guys missed in our last podcast, we tried to figure out other words that we could substitute.
We missed nub.
We missed nub. Oh, that's funny. How did you feel about the sex scenes?
Like I said, I liked it when it was surrounding a couple that had a relationship already, because it didn't feel rushed. Even when there was a moment where I think it was after she celebrated with Alexis and Liv. I can't remember the moment, but it was when he was reading in his book, the sexy time in his book, and she came and jumped him.
He was having a book boner.
Yeah. That was really funny. That was good. Because they're married and they have history, and even though it was clumsy and it didn't work out right, it was because they had already been in this, they're already in an established relationship, and you're not rolling your eyes, and it's not like, oh, she just met him last week, or, so I liked it. I thought it was well done. Mm-hmm. It wasn't too much. Like you said, it wasn't every other chapter. It was only a couple times. So,
but it was, yeah, I know. I felt that the story had a good plot. I feel like we were able to achieve what I had hoped would happen in the book. I wasn't left wishing for more information on some things. There were some parts where, like we talked about the whole Thanksgiving, like, puke apocalypse thing happening, where, like, the girls randomly get sick, and then it wasn't talked about as to why they got sick, other than it could be talked up for him just eating a bunch of sugar.
Yeah.
That
was the reason.
But that moment I thought was a real good bonding time in and of itself, because, like, they're now parenting in a crisis moment again with this new established, like, how we're going to talk to each other and how we're going to work around each other. And even though I was like, why do we have to have these girls, like, throwing up? It made sense to the story. Like, I didn't feel like there was just unnecessary information or part of us time.
I don't like vomit. I don't like it. I don't like it in a movie. I don't like it in a book. I don't like it on a train. I don't like it in the rain.
All right, green eggs and ham. No green vomit on the floor.
No. One other funny moment I have to say is the whole washi tape thing. It's stupid, but it was funny because a week prior I was at Michael's complaining about the low supply of washi tape. And I'm like, now, I don't like romance. I am not a woman. Not all women read romance. However, the washi tape, I could relate to the washi tape situation.
But see, I loved that because, okay, so that's in reference to their first date, right, that they take out together, because that's one of their stipulations is that they have to go out for a date once a week together. And instead of them going to this nice, fancy, hoity-toity, restaurant right away, he takes her to an art supply store, okay? Gavin obviously knows what his wife is into. He's not that dense where he doesn't get it. And all of his dude friends bashed him for it. They were like, "You're taking her to an art supply store? Are you stupid? She's not going to want to get together with you." And then they send Del, Mac, and the Russian undercover to watch him and her on this date. And that was the first moment where I felt like Thea was able to express her love and romantic side, because she felt that she was heard and things that were important to her weren't just being pushed under the rug. That's why she hauls off and just like stands up on her toes and kisses him right away. And he's like, "What? I'm not supposed to be kissing you," because that was one of the bros' guidelines, were don't kiss her unless she wants to. Like, you don't instigate it. You have to let her open up to you and trust you again. Well, that whole while I was like, "Oh, you took her for the date." He knew. That would be like if Justin took me to the bookstore and got me, the next famous book that was out, and I'd be like, "Yes, I wanted a hardback." I know, baby, you like hardback. It's fine.
I know you like hardback. Yeah. I was looking for a moment in the book. I can't find it, but I think it's Del, and he's like, "Oh yeah, women love washi tape," and he's like, "I just saw my wife smiling, looking in the drawer and just smiling at it." I was like, I documented it because it was really funny, but I can't find it. But yeah, I like the washi tape moment. That was really funny. Like I was saying before, I really liked Mac. At first, I was like, "Oh God, here we go with this guy," but he had some really funny quips. I'm not gonna lie.
I got one.
Which one?
Okay, so this one made me laugh because this is like a bougie thing that like I feel like I do on the weekends. Like when you wake up early and you go and get your Starbucks or whatever coffee place that you like, the first thing that they bring Gavin is a pumpkin spice latte. And Matt,
oh my God.
Matt goes, "Just as you ordered." And Gavin goes, "You drink these too?" And then Matt goes, "Don't be ashamed for liking them. The backlash against the PSL is the perfect example of how toxic masculinity permeates even our society. It permeates even the most mundane things in life. If masses of women like something in our society, automatically begins to mock them. Just like romance novels, if women like them, they must be a joke, right?" This is Mac. It's just so...
Yeah, he did have these moments of where he was saying really dumb stuff, and then he would have these moments of brilliance, and I'm like, what? Okay.
Talks about the sex scenes. He goes, "Yeah, the sex scenes are also really fucking hot." And then I response it's at least a BB4. And then Gavin goes, "What does that mean?" He goes, "It's our rating for how much sex is in it."
Boner.
What does BB stand for? Book boner. So cute. Oh, I liked that Gavin had a stutter.
Yeah, I mean,
I liked it because I didn't feel like it was too much. Because the first time it happened, maybe it's because he's excited. And then it happened again when he gets worked up. He really can't focus. He has, his brain to his mouth and what's coming out. Because I used to have a stutter growing up, so it was really cute because he did not grow out of his stutter, and he was trying so hard. So hard.
Yeah, I like at the very end what was the wag name? Rachel? I don't know. Let's call her Rachel. Sure. And she's like, "I bet he stutters in bed," and she was like, "Yeah, he does, and it's great." I was
like, sexy. And she stormed out.
So yeah, that was really funny.
I was like, "Way to go, girlfriend! That is amazing." Oh, it's so awesome. I was trying to see if I could find another Mac quote, but I don't know if I.
I got one. Like, I like it when they would go to the diner and the waitress. I think they kept getting the same waitress, and they had like a little banter with the waitress. But then there's one scene where Matt goes, "The way I hear it, no one is touching your bacon." He was like, "Don't touch my bacon." And at this point, Gavin hadn't told him about the faking it, and so he's like, "No one's touching your bacon." I was like, "Oh my god, that guy's hilarious."
No one's touching your bacon. Or his apple, and he got like super big.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh. I think that's all I have for it.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah.
Once again, it is over an hour. I don't know why. I told you it was going to be an hour.
Well, guys, thanks for joining our hour-long banter. We don't mean to. We really do enjoy these books. Talks.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a spoiler edition of Bromance Book Club. Are you still going to read book 2?
Oh, yeah.
I kind of poo-pooed all over it a little bit. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. I might like it. We'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah, it's different. I'm not going to say anything else. We'll wait till you finish and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
And then the next book is about Alexis and some other guy, which doesn't get introduced until book 2. Because I was like, who is this other guy? Timmy or some guy? He's an IT guy. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So I'll probably read the third one too, because why not?
Because why not? It's good. It's entertaining right now.
Yeah.
He's at least keeping me that close, you know. I like it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for Bromance Book Club by Lyssa K. Adams. And our next podcast will be August 9th. And we're reading Midnight Sun. Do you have any expectations? Like, what are your expectations of this?
I actually started reading the first draft of it like a whole crap ton of years ago, you know, because Stephanie Meyer released the first 12 chapters. And I was like, this is a completely different outline, and I enjoyed it then. So I'm curious if I'm going to have that same emotion when I go to read it.
So is it the exact same story but told from Edward's point of view?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a different part in their life?
I think that there's like flashbacks, but I don't remember.
Okay.
If there are, but I mean, there's all those parts where Edward and the Collins disappear for multiple like days. So that's kind of things that I'm curious about, because I mean, I don't like Bella. Okay. Bella is annoying. She has all of these other issues. I was all in it for reading like Jacob and Edward.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I will enjoy it more, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
She hasn't, you know, written it in a very long time, so I'll be.
I know. I'm afraid it's going to be another Snakes and Songbirds, where it's going to be really polarizing, mostly on the hate end of the spectrum. We didn't hate Snakes and Songbirds, but a lot of people did. So I'm just worried that it's going to be a repeat of that. And if it is a 700-page, I'm not going to be happy if it's 700 pages of garbage. I'm going to be pissed.
Mm-hmm. You'll hear our firsthand comments while we're, you know, doing this read along, because it's about to be the first time that we are very open and honest about our first reactions with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know what you are expecting from Midnight Sun, because I'm hoping that it's good. Hoping it's better than the Twilight series, and that she kind of fixed all those issues she had with the Native Americans. People were having a lot of problems with that insensitivity, so hopefully she, you know, did something with all that. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Bye-bye.